Now you've talked about how seeing a therapist really helped you recently, a couple episodes ago. What do you think about Leo talking about it as well?
Leo, in my opinion, is probably top three most influential person in the world, right? If you think about it, and not that is everybody in this world included, and for me, he has the power to reach so many people, and by him talking about it and saying that, and creating such a positive feeling around talking to somebody seeking help is something so important.
Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. I'm Zealand Shannon here with my co-host, as always, Julian Gressel. I hope you're well rested, Julian. You had the week off.
Yes, finally, it was nice. It's nice to get away a little bit and be with some family and some friends and travel on just pleasure. So it was fun. But how was your week? How are you doing?
Oh, just good. I played in a gaming tournament for a game called Rust and played it 12 hours a day, every day for a week. So I guess there's two directions you can go in life.
Okay, interesting. I think I saw it on your socials a little bit.
Yeah, Rust is a strange game. Take me the rest of the podcast to try and describe it. But it was a server with a bunch of creators, and I basically strolled into my local bodega at 2 a.m. every day, buying pasta and then cooking it and starting over.
Wow.
It was a trying time, but hey, you got the week off. I'm happy for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I needed it. We needed the break. We had a tough start to the season, obviously, and now with Copa America coming up, and there was an international break where we didn't have a game, so they gave us 5 full days, and we got out of town. We went to Boston a little bit, and saw some, like I said, my wife's family's up there, some friends from college, and had a really good time.
How was the food? I miss the food in Boston or in New England in general. Do you have like a clam chowder or something?
Yeah, I mean, we did the whole Quincy Market, Faneuil Hall. I got a lobster roll at Faneuil Hall. Had to show my daughter around a little bit, so it was good, man. It was, the city was decked in green with all the Celtics people out. So they actually played that night as well, game one.
I forgot to say congratulations on the 2-0 lead, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, I got my Celtics hat on every day now. I feel like into training these days, so it's been a good run so far. Hopefully, they get 2 more.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've been here before, but I'm not a basketball expert. Good thing I'm not a soccer expert either. But did you rate and review this podcast on your favorite audio platform? I forgot to remind you guys. Be honest. You can't lie to us, or at least you can't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. If you haven't, please do that for us. Please and thank you. We've been having so much fun putting this podcast together, and we really appreciate all of the ratings and reviews we have already gotten. Each and every one of you are awesome people. And coming up today, of course, we're going to talk Inter Miami returning to action on Saturday after a 2-week layoff that Julian Gressel has enjoyed. He is now rejuvenated and full of lobster rolls, which I'm starving. I need to focus. Visit the Philadelphia Union, and we're going to talk about the latest with the Herons, of course. But first, this summer is absolutely jam-packed. Of course, you have Copa America and Euros are starting up, and we are going to talk about them both. And we are going to finish that out with at least some loose predictions. I do have commitment issues, but I'll do my best. And we're going to start with Copa America. And since the United States is now a proper footballing nation, we have to wear with a badge of disgust the fact that the U.S. continued its Copa America preparation with our now friend Matt Turner with a 5-1 loss to Colombia. I know I just said a lot of words, but what was your first reaction when you saw that game?
Yeah, so I was actually on the plane back from Boston, so I actually couldn't watch it live. I rewatched parts of it and obviously the highlights. But yeah, tough result, and you said it earlier, I think you can look at things 2 ways, right? You can look at this one as like, oh man, this is going to be a tough tournament, or you can look at it in a way of like, okay, hopefully this was a wake-up call and we can kind of be ready to go once these games come in the tournament, actually. So obviously good that it happened in a friendly and not in the first game or the second game, or where it's by that time it would have been too late. But tough way to kind of start kind of this quest of making a run at it here in your home country.
No, I would have never heard the end of it if that was the first game. It is one of those things where you hope that it gets it out of your system because, I mean, you know this obviously way better than me, but the Colombia is not 4 goals better than the United States if both teams are playing at their absolute best. So this
Yes.
had to be some sort of case where the US just wasn't up for the game. Maybe they were trying something tactically that clearly didn't work. Like there's a lot of ways that this could have gone down. And on face value, the whole point of friendlies is to experiment, try a new lineup, to get the team. You're not winning any trophies in a friendly against Colombia 2 weeks or a week before the tournament actually starts. But if you were able to make the right adjustments and find the right rotations, or in this case, make all of the wrong adjustments and find all of the wrong rotations, then hopefully that can lead to something that's going to happen in the tournament. Now, I am either stubborn or an idiot, but I'm not going to back off my me thinking the
I
United
love it. I
States.
was going to ask you.
I'm not. I can't back off yet. Even I had Matt Turner validated me, saying that the U.S. is the third best team in this tournament. It is entirely possible that a week from now I will look like a complete idiot. But I think that if you look at tournament performances, if you look at the level and form of the players involved, the U.S. just has to be there. And at a certain point, right, because for the vast majority of my life, the U.S. national team was kind of well, gosh, golly, I hope we win something, right? But at a certain point, we have to transition to we've got the money, we have the facilities. Now, that match against Colombia, every single player that started that match is in a top 5 league, is in a top 5 European league. Like at some point, the expectation has to be there. Like nobody's going to show up even to the friendly against Brazil coming up soon. Nobody's going to show up to that game and look at Vinicius like he's and be looking at him like, oh, we've never seen somebody like that before. Obviously, he's an amazing player, but they're not there's no fear that they're going to be overwhelmed by the occasion. So there has to be some expectations somewhere. I'm the person that's going to try to start setting them, but I am now I'm less confident in it than I was when I said it initially.
Let me tell you this. I think from somebody that has experienced the U.S. men's national team on the inside, right? That expectation,
Okay.
that expectation is there on the inside. Like it's not okay to lose 5-1 to Colombia in a friendly match. You know, it's not okay to lose to the Netherlands in the World Cup in a round of 16 game. Like it's round of 32. Sorry, it's
no, you were right. Round of 16.
Round of 16. No, sorry. But these expectations are certainly there that you can compete with the best at the highest level there is in this sport, and that is why these types of performances or results are even more disappointing when they come, right? And that's from obviously an outsider's perspective, you want to see the U.S. competing at the highest level. You want to see them going toe to toe with these countries and going hopefully toe to toe with Brazil now in this coming friendly, and then going into the Copa America where they can maybe advance and beat a big country, in a knockout round or something like that, and then kind of create some energy and some buzz, because you don't want to have this negative energy around as well, where you're like, oh, now we play against a top 20 team and just can't seem to beat those guys other than Mexico for some reason. So you got to get that first one out of the way, and then hopefully, it kind of rolls from there. But the expectation is certainly there from within to be a top 5, top 10 nation in this sport.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear, right? And what I loved was, I think it was Pulisic. Pulisic's probably the only one I've ever heard that said it. Just actually said the quiet part out loud. He said, I want to win the World Cup. Like, I think we might have the opportunity to win the World Cup. I want to, because you hear most people say, because they don't want to make it seem like they're making this prediction that can be bulletin board material, they'll say like, well, we want to make a run or we want to make a dent, but they don't set a line on it, right? Matt was great at that. He's obviously, he I don't blame him at all, but he's great at being like, we want to make an impact. We want to play up to our potential or whatever.
It's media trained. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's media training. And it's also just like, it's making the executive decision that you don't want to deal with the blowback of any of that. And I respect that. It makes sense. But it is nice to hear. It was nice to hear when Christian said that, somebody say, this is our goal. Somebody say, this is what we're actually going to try to achieve. Because it does feel like U.S. soccer has always been a little weird, because the way soccer developed in the U.S. is obviously completely different. And U.S. soccer is it's a really small group of people at the top that kind of that run a lot of the things. And I mean, there was maybe mountains made out of molehills when it came to Greg Berhalter's brother kind of being involved in the hiring process. But there is a feeling, fair or not, that the people running U.S. soccer are all in like the same club. You know, they all know each other, and like the whole Reina situation at the World Cup. And so there is a much larger public interest. I'm sure you've experienced this since you showed up on the shores like the Pilgrims in New England, where there's been a huge increase. Actually, I can't believe that I stuck that metaphor. I love that so much. There's this huge huge increase in interest in the game, just in terms of the normal public discourse. I mean, you're a Boston person. You've got things like Barstool Sports, or they're tweeting about. The same thing everybody else in every other country's tweeting about. They're tweeting fire Berhalter after you lose a game, right? But they're talking about it, and there's this wide public knowledge about it. So U.S. soccer can't hide anymore. I think that's another part of it. Like the era of people only caring about you when you're good is over. Like every 4 years, all of a sudden at the World Cup, everybody cares. Now everybody cares about a friendly against Colombia before Copa America, which a decade ago, I was one of 10 Americans that knew what Copa America was, right? But now it's like this wide, broad awareness. So it's changed. I think that U.S. soccer and the people that play for it and wear the shirt, there's going to be an adapting period to getting used to that pressure of people actually really paying attention.
Yeah, I could see that. But at the same time, you have the players that are used to that on a club level all the time.
That's fair.
That are there, like you just said, they're all starters on top 5 leagues in the world. And in those, the pressure in Europe is really, really high. As I'm hoping that we can have some guests on that can talk about this as well. And, when it then comes to national team level, they should be accustomed to that pressure. And they should be almost be wanting that pressure, right? Because that means that you're playing at a high level and that you're playing against top and quality opponents, that you're competing at the highest level, and that's what you want, in my opinion, and that's why you should be welcoming of that. But I can't obviously speak for the people that sit behind the scenes and kind of make the decisions other than the players. But in terms of a player's perspective, I think that's what you have. You have guys that have been under pressure like that and have eyeballs on you every week. Like in Italy, Pulisic, every move gets watched. Whatever he does off the field, on the field, all of it. Here in the US, maybe off the field is not so much. Maybe it's a little bit easier, for example. But hopefully that changes, or probably will change.
Hopefully he's under much more pressure than he is normally. I think it will. I think it just takes time. And there's just only so much bandwidth that, like, the United States just has so much stuff to pay attention to begin with.
Yeah. It's a lot. But, this sport is growing, and the sport is getting more and more popular, and tournaments like Copa America in this country will help a lot. And, if we can just, do well now, just imagine what it's going to be like in 2026 for the World Cup. This is like the perfect little, like a takeoff ramp, to just get it started.
No, it is. This is the test case for what is going to be the World Cup in 2026, where people that don't know what the offside rule is are going to be, doing full body paint and sitting in the front row going absolutely nuts. Like, it's going to be an introduction to the rest of the world of just how crazy and stupid US fans can be, which I'm really looking forward to. But there is a different kind of pressure with the US national team, something I want to talk about, which is, and I have a just crazy tie into this because I've been to 2 US national team games ever. One was a World Cup qualifier against Antigua and Barbuda, which was riveting. I mean, it was actually, that's a cool sort of match to see, right? It is really just a bunch of semi-pros just lining up against the US, right? It was fun. And then the other one was the United States playing Colombia in Tampa 6 years ago. And I remembered 6 years ago, and it was funny because I went with my dad, and, my dad it was always into sports in the American way. He is just somebody where every single night it's, well, what sport is on, right? And we're either watching one of the 4 major sports, or golf, or tennis, or sports just dominated my household, but I was the person that got into soccer, and I've just been kind of introducing him to it in stages. You have to do like doses.
Yeah.
But this game was a big one for him because we went there and he, you could tell he was clearly expecting it to be all US fans. That's where, that's what I kind of wanted to get your thought about is the pressure being the US national team. And a lot of times when you play in the US, if you're playing Colombia or you're playing Mexico in San Diego or whatever, a lot of the crowd is actually not going to be for you. Do you think that actually factors in at all? Because the game I went to, and obviously it seemed like the game that they just played against Colombia, it's like 75% Colombia fans. It's an interesting atmosphere. It's almost like, at least when I was there 6 years ago, we were all a little bit surprised. We're like, damn. But then when you think about it, Colombia's got 80, 90 million people in it. And there's a lot of Colombian immigrants in the US. And this is their one chance to watch their team play. Like, of course they're going to go. But it's definitely weird.
I actually played against Colombia too.
There you go.
In LA. At the LA Galaxy Stadium, and it was like you said, 80% Colombian. It was sold out, and not because of US fans. And obviously this was the same way now in the game. When you look at the stands, a lot of yellow shirts there, So I think there is a certain type of I don't know, almost like I was like, you kind of in the moment you embrace it, right? You're like, okay, let's kind of treat it as an away game almost, but even though it's obviously in the US, but it's certainly not a great feeling, I want to say, when you play in your country, wearing your country's crest, representing this nation that you are actually in, and then all of a sudden the whole stadium is somewhat against you. It's a tough situation to be in and a tough mindset to kind of go into. So after the fact, now when I think back about these games, I'm like, almost a little bit upset about it. Like I almost like, oh man, like, I wish it was different, but the only way I think you have to obviously look at it in a way of the only way you can change it is by performing and then by getting the fans to come, and by changing the way the people in the United States, not just around the world, like not even around the world, but in the United States, view the U.S. men's national team or soccer in general. I think that's that has been one of Greg Berhalter's slogans, by the way, from the start. I think within the locker room of we want to change the way the world views American soccer, and I think they did that at the World Cup.
I think there's just, as somebody that has to interface between the world and American soccer all the time, there is a different approach that people take to breaking down the performances of the U.S. national team. Like, I don't know, and I'm talking about people elsewhere on the planet. Like, obviously, we're just talking about people inside the U.S., but this is just an interesting thing I wanted to pull on because it's this, like, the U.S. is almost in its own category.
Yeah.
But the United States has been to the knockouts of 3 of the last 4 World Cups. But nobody really cares. Like, if for example, like if Serbia had done that, there would be a huge change in the way that Serbia's national team was being perceived, in the same way that happened for Croatia. They make, that one deep run or whatever, and it really changed the way they're looked at. Switzerland literally did that. They've been to, I think it's 4 straight knockouts, and now Switzerland's this really reliable team. But the U.S. there is an assumption from a lot of people that the U.S. can't and never will be good. I know that's not true. That's not true. But I think in large parts of the rest of the world, it's that double-edged point that they always make where it's why isn't the U.S. better and why does nobody care?
When you look at the American sports in general, right? You're the best. You have the best athletes in the world, and you're the best in the NFL. You're the absolute best in the NBA. You're the absolute best in the MLB. You're the absolute best in the NHL. Maybe not with Russia, but there's some other countries there as well. But at the same time, you always have this, the standard is always the top, like the tip of the iceberg. There's never, like, making the knockouts is never good enough when it comes to a basketball team for the Olympics, for example, like, or an NFL. Like, you always have the best athletes come into your country to play in your league. And there's nothing else really that comes even close to that. So that's why the standards, this game where, the whole world is almost, or was a lot of steps ahead of you for a long time, and now you're trying to catch up, when now American people are looking at it like, well, why aren't we the best? It's like, you kind of have that. You have that always. So that's why a win, like you're saying, that win will hopefully, kind of break through and open more eyes, open more doors to people that will then find out, hey, okay, these countries have done really, really well over such a long time, where we're just a little bit behind, or we're just starting to get there. So, making it to, I don't know, a quarterfinal is great, in a World Cup. And that's why maybe that way it changes perceptions. If they make it to the final in Miami, you got to come down, and we'll go to your third together. How about that?
That'll be awesome. I cannot wait. But to get to something that we referenced in a previous episode, I did want to bring it up just for a second. The Luis Suarez, he did get called up for the Uruguay national team, so he will be at Copa America.
Incredible. Yeah. When I asked him, and he said how he wanted to go, um, I saw that, like, he really wanted to, right? Like, you could see it in his eyes. It wasn't just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it just, to be there. No, like, he wants to go, and he wants to do well, and he wants to compete for his team. I saw his social posts, I think, where he was greeting his teammates, where he couldn't stop smiling. I was like, all right, like, I understand why, So I'm happy for him that he got called up, and that he's going to be there. And yeah, representing his Uruguay, that's near and dear to his heart. And that's certainly nice for me to see, and kind of know that he'll try and, yeah, do well for them. Who would have thought for Luis Suarez to not know if he was going to get called up to a Copa America, right? For what he's done, and throughout, not just for his country, but even throughout world soccer, right? It's incredible to even have him in that position, first of all. But that's Bielsa for you, and I guess he was kind of a victim of that. But again, I think it worked out, and he was certainly excited to join them. Did your guy that playing in the, what is it called, non-league in England, make it?
So Walter Dominguez, he was the guy. He was non-league in Uruguay. I have pulled up the squad. He did not make the team, so pour one out for my non-league boy Walter Dominguez. But he had one hell of a ride. He's got a great story to tell his friends in the semi-pro Central League, I think it was called. I honestly don't even remember.
He can always say that he got cut because Luis Suarez came in the camp.
He lost his spot to Luis Suarez, which,
Yeah.
I mean, fair play. That's if you're even in that conversation as somebody from non-league, that works. But we've been remiss, Julian. We have not even talked about the Euros, other than saying we're going to talk about it. And
We got to do some predictions first for Copa America.
Oh, okay.
Finish
Yeah,
the
no,
segment, right?
I'm down. All right, we'll do this very officially. Dun, 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 the player manager prediction pool. Group A, Julian Gressel, Argentina, Peru, Chile, and Canada. Who gets out?
Argentina and Chile.
Oh, so that is actually a tough call. I'm going to go Argentina and Canada. I liked the way they played against France, even though friendlies don't matter. I'm going to look. Peru's last in qualifying. Chile is out of their golden generation of dudes with tattoos and cool hair. They still have those dudes. If I'm being honest, but I think that I love the way Canada played at the World Cup too. I think they got unlucky. I think they're going to get lucky. Group B: Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, Jamaica. I'm rooting for Jamaica, but there's no way I'm picking them.
You said Venezuela is on a pretty good run, right?
Oh, they are. They're ahead of Ecuador in World Cup qualifying right now.
Yeah, so I'll pick Mexico and Venezuela then.
Oh, I'll pick, just because I'm drinking some Haterade, I'll pick Ecuador and Venezuela. I'm going to knock Mexico out of the tournament. Group C: the United States of America, Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia.
US 1, Uruguay 2.
Oh, love that. I'm going to do the exact same thing.
Glass is always half full for us.
Yeah, no, it is. Come on, we have the opposite of the English pessimism. We are here overly optimistic, and also I would be a hypocrite because I still think they're the third best team. The Group D, we have Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, Costa Rica. Are you going to buck everybody's pick?
I'm going to do Brazil and Colombia. Yeah, I mean.
Okay. And then who wins the whole tournament? That's my pick too, obviously. But who wins the entire tournament?
I think Argentina.
I will say I'm aware of the listener base of this program, but I'm gonna go Brazil. I think Copa America is Brazil's comfort zone. It's not the World Cup anymore, but it is this tournament.
I mean, it'd be a sick final to go to if it's Brazil, Argentina. Oh,
That would be out in Miami. I can't even
yeah.
imagine the crowd in Miami for Brazil Argentina. That's just as much as I want the U.S. to be there, a nice consolation prize would be Brazil Argentina in the final.
Yes.
I would not hate that at all. But now on to the Euros. Thank you, thank you for reminding me to do that. I was trying to get out without having to put my name to anything, but here we are. The Euros, which are, of course, in your native Germany, and they start on Friday with Germany taking on Scotland. What are you looking forward to in this tournament? Because obviously Germany's had a really bad run of things recently. Actually, I had to look this up kind of for a video recently. It's the worst run of performances by the national team ever in terms of finishes in major tournaments. So does it end then?
Yes, it does. But what I'm looking for is just excitement again and all this negativity to be shut down a little bit and just, kind of. I think they've done that a little bit with what Nagelsmann is trying to do as a coach. But in general, I remember I was a kid in 2006 when the World Cup was in Germany, and it was such a fun time. It was the best summer for us. The team was similar to now, not very good before. And then all of a sudden went on this magical run with Jurgen Klinsmann as the coach, with some young stars in there, like Schweinsteiger's first real tournament, and Philipp Lahm's first real tournament. So those are all childhood heroes for me because of that, year and that summer. And that's what I want for Germany. I want that. There's so much stuff going on politically that is not great in my opinion. So I want that, positivity to come to the people and I hope that national team performances can give that, a celebration of soccer in the country. Everybody loves the game there. And I am excited and I'm bummed I won't be able to experience it. I know you will be able to, so that I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy for you, but obviously I'm, not a bit bummed that I can't experience it again because, like I said, I had so many good memories as a kid, and I really hope that that's going to be the case again. And honestly, the feeling has kind of changed within the national team a little bit already. So some good performances in some friendlies. Tony Kroos is back in the national team. That has given, I feel like, everybody a lift, and all the political talk that was part of the World Cup in Qatar is gone, and it's just, the whole vibe is different, and that's what I'm excited about. So I hope they can get off to a good start on Friday and then, just roll on from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's I don't ascribe to the keep politics out of football. I feel like it's always important to stand up for what you believe in, but it always feels nice and a little more comforting when you move on from a situation like Qatar and you're able to kind of get the energy back flowing in the right direction, like more of the energy focused on the field. And I'll play devil's advocate for a second here. The group is not easy. That Germany has. There is not, no offense to Georgia or Albania, but there is not a Georgia or Albania like a layup, a guaranteed win in the group. You've got, you have Switzerland, who obviously made the quarterfinal last time with a win over France in penalties. You have Hungary, who won their qualifying group, and you have Scotland, who somehow won their qualifying group. Now, I propose the opening game should just be a drink off between the two fan sections. I think that would be a world-class performance from the Scottish and the Germans. But it is definitely the type of group that if Germany shows up and plays the way that it has in its past tournaments, it is feasible for it to miss out on the knockouts. Now, I don't think that's going to happen either. I'm scared to say that because it is a bit of a kiss of death, but it is tougher than you'd like.
It would be a disaster if that happened for, soccer in the country. It would for the national team, for, just in general, everything. Obviously, this is your home tournament. You can't go out in a group like that. Still, you talk about those teams. They're not like a top group with Spain in it. With, in the World Cup, you had Japan, Spain, like those. That was a tough group, and and now, this is a group you're expected to win. You're Germany after all,
Yeah.
so you are expected to win that group in your home country, kicking it off in Munich. My mom's all excited to go to the fan fest. I actually talked to her today, but the
That's
weather is
awesome.
supposed to be really bad apparently. So I think it's supposed to be like 50s and rainy, so not really a great summer. But yeah, so the excitement is there. People are talking about it. People are buzzing. So if you go out now and you kind of don't make it out of that, you're in trouble. You're in
Yeah,
trouble.
no, I mean, here's the thing. When was the last time? I mean, Qatar obviously made its first ever World Cup, so it was a lot to ask for them to get out of the group. But I can't remember another instance where a team didn't make it out of at least the group stage while they were hosting the tournament. I mean, there would be riots in the streets if that changed here, but I don't
Yeah,
think it's happened.
yeah. I don't know. Let's see.
But no, but you're right in the sense that you did dodge a potentially tougher group because that's the group directly below it with Spain, Croatia, and Italy, which is the
Yeah.
group that I'm really looking forward to. But were there other matches that you're particularly excited about?
I mean, I think you want to obviously see how the favorites are doing, right? To start, I think England has had a tough couple of friendlies now, where the English press, I think we talked about it
Iceland. Sorry.
pre-show, right? Where the negativity is just there that you just won't win anything. It's just never going to happen, especially after those friendly or the friendly result. But yeah, I think you want to see kind of how they start right into the tournament. France obviously tied against Canada, not a great result to kind of kick off their their campaign, but again, it's something that we'll just kind of have to see because the tournaments are different. Germany's always been known for a tournament team, for example. Like, what does that even mean? But um, yeah, it's just we'll just kind of have to see on how these teams start, and then whoever can kind of get into a rhythm the quickest. I think that obviously getting out of the group in groups like Spain, Croatia, and um, Italy is major, and then you've already experienced tough opponents as well. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, I'm more so looking forward to kind of the hype and the excitement and the the buzz around kind of the euphoria around it all. So because again, there's so many memories for me, but it's going to be interesting.
Oh, I think that buzz will keep going as long as the team produces results. But if you get
Yeah.
anything other than a win against Scotland on Friday, that buzz might go away quickly. Huge shout out to our producer Michael, who correctly said South Africa didn't get out of their group in 2010, but they scored that one awesome goal to open the World Cup. So everything else after that is forgotten. That was their contribution to footballing lore, footballing history. But there's 24 teams that are going to Germany, 23 of them that are not named Germany. So you can't pick Germany. Who are some other dark horses that might surprise people? No France, no England, perhaps. Who's somebody else that just based off the way you've seen a couple of their players playing, you think could make a run here?
Well, I think for me, it's probably Croatia. If they could get out of it, I mean, they have now big tournament experience in knockouts, winning big games. I think that's probably the team that, if they can get out of the group stage, would probably be my pick to be able to grind out results. And knockout games are about that, right? They are about grinding out results. If that's going to extra time, if that's going to penalties, if doing whatever it takes to kind of to just advance, survive and advance, right? And then that's what makes these tournaments so special as well. Where obviously they have a great leader in Luka Modric, who's been there, done that so many times, and um, I've seen, I think, a couple documentaries about how he leads, and it's inspiring for everybody there, and incredible to have a leader like that, going into tournaments, and people like that will certainly help smaller, and in parentheses nations like Croatia.
It's interesting. It gets so overlooked because there are two teams that have been to the last four of the past two World Cups. One is France, obviously, and
Yeah,
the other one is Croatia.
yeah.
They freaking beat Brazil at the last World Cup. I mean, they are just so impressive. And of course, for all of their incredible performances, like I said, they get a group with Spain and Italy. So enjoy that one. Just
I
absolutely
know
brutal.
it'll be great.
Oh, it should be great. I'm trying to pick my brain. I'm just trying to find a way to not say Turkey because I feel like everybody always says Turkey is some sort of dark horse to win the whole thing. And I don't know if they would classify.
That would be some sort of party in Germany if the
Yeah,
Turkish people,
that's true.
especially Berlin.
That
Where are you
was
going to? You're going to Berlin, right?
yeah. No, I'm going to see a quarterfinal in Berlin. Was what Julian was referencing earlier. I don't know who's going to be involved. It's part of a family trip. We will be in Berlin, and my dad is part of his quest to see every cool sports thing ever. Is determined to see a Euros match, and I'm sure our last name's Shannon. Maybe if Scotland makes it, we can paint our faces and try and blend in a little bit, but we'll give it a shot. But what I was weaving my way towards is I don't know if they are an underdog per se, but I think Portugal is really interesting. I think they've transitioned out of the Ronaldo era. He'll still be there, but I think that they have a group of players that's definitely good enough to win it. And I don't see other teams like Belgium and the Netherlands necessarily having. I would say other teams that are kind of at that second level.
Yeah,
I feel like out of that group, Portugal's probably the most likely team. That's a bit more of a weak answer compared to your Croatia dark horse pick, but I'm sticking to it. If you want an absolutely off the wall one, then I'll go ahead and drop Romania on you because literally no one's talking about them, but they won their qualifying group and were really impressive. I don't know I don't know what they're cooking in Romania, but they're cooking something. That team was really good in Euros qualifying.
yeah, that'll be. I mean, just hearing all this, right? There's going to be some great matchups, right? It's going to be like I even forgot about Belgium, Netherlands, like those types of countries that always have aspirations of winning the whole thing, right? There's like 6, 7, 8 countries that that are, I feel like, at the same level, and maybe France kind of sticks up a little bit probably as a favorite just because obviously recent performances in the World Cup and kind of what they've done. But I think below that, any other team has the quality in terms of players and teams to really go all the way. And that's what makes the Euros for me one of the best tournaments because there's so many good matchups every time.
I think that's what
watch.
sets it apart from Copa America. Is there's some very good teams at Copa America, and I mean no offense to Bolivia could beat the U.S. and I end up looking like an idiot, but no offense to the Bolivias, the Paraguays of the world, but teams like Belgium and the Netherlands and Austria and Poland, they've got Austria's got David Alaba, Poland's got Robert Lewandowski. There's a group that is Poland, Netherlands, Austria, France. These are teams that that's 4 World Cup teams in a Euro group right there. 4 teams that make the World Cup out of Europe, and then the other group obviously with Spain and Croatia and Italy, or even Denmark, Serbia, and England all being in the same group, where Serbia has been an absolute nightmare for teams in the World Cup the last couple of cycles. It is just such a deep, chaotic tournament. I think AFCON is similar, but the teams at the Euros, it's like the same thing at a higher level, right? You're going to get the chaos, but there's also just a higher number of world-class players.
Yeah, for sure. Let's run through it. Let's see.
Yeah, no, it's showtime. Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland. What are your picks? Who finishes
Germany,
second? Yeah, who finishes second?
Germany, and I'm going to go Hungary.
Oh, going with the Dominic Szoboszlai. I'll go Germany and Scotland. All right. Group B, Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania. Obviously, Albania.
Yeah, that's number 1. No, Spain and Italy.
Okay.
Even though I had Croatia as my
I was going to say, I like that. You're saying they could do it, but you're not feeling it. I'm going to go Italy, Croatia. I think Spain might be a paper tiger. Group C.
They had a really good friendly, Spain.
Oh,
you see I
am hoping for the U.S.'s sake.
Friendlies don't matter, right?
That doesn't matter at all. Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England.
Denmark and England.
Yeah, I'll go. I don't know. Denmark's so weird at the World Cup. I'll go England and Serbia. Group D, Poland, Netherlands, Austria, France.
France and Netherlands.
That's tough not to pick that. I'm obviously going to go France. I will go Lewandowski's last ride, assuming he's still in the team, and go Poland second. Just for the spice of life. The Netherlands doesn't have much of an offense. Like if Memphis Depay doesn't score, I feel like they aren't scoring. So Poland, Lewandowski, let's say he scores 5 goals in 9 minutes. Well, all of a sudden they're back. All he has to do is do that again. It's no problem. Group E, Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine.
Get some good juju to Ukraine and Belgium.
Okay. I'll send the same good juju. I hope they finish third and get through, but I'm going to go Belgium and Romania just so that my random deep poll dark horse is still alive. And then Group F, we've got Turkey, we've got the debutantes, Georgia, Portugal, and Czechia.
Portugal and Turkey.
Okay. I'll go Portugal, and I would say Czechia, but their captain got hurt after falling off a bike.
Tough break.
Just a terrible story. So I'll go Portugal, and I'm going to go Georgia. I think the debutantes always bring a little magic. It's the first time Georgia's in a major tournament, and they do have good players. They've got Kvaratskhelia and Marmarashvili. Definitely didn't say either of those right, but you kind of get the gist of who I'm talking about. I think they'll go through. And that brings us, at long last, to Inter Miami, because the last time we potted, Luis Suarez wasn't sure he'd be called up. All this crazy stuff was going on. He's going back to Uruguay, but that kind of highlights a greater issue within the team as we go into this period now where you're going to be missing a lot of players. Now, how's the team going to approach that period?
I think we've talked about it quite a bit before. Obviously, started the season, we talk about what's to come and how many guys are going to be gone in the summer. And now you have, Leo missing, Luis missing, and Matias Rojas is missing. You have a couple of guys that are still on the national break now with some youth national teams, but they'll be back for the games. But again, it's a time that we knew was coming. We knew we would be without those players, and I feel like we're well prepared. We had a little bit of time off now. We are now able to train a good amount before the games, and I think guys are ready to kind of step up. Talk about a Leo Campana, right, who's kind of been waiting for these moments to, certainly having conversations beginning of the year of like, my time will come, and now that time is here. So it's certainly a time. Like I said, I think we're prepared for it. I think we're ready. We're up for it, and we're excited to continue to run that we've been on, to continue to do it without those guys, and then hopefully when they come back, they will give us an even bigger boost, and we can continue to stay on top of the table and accumulate points, and then be right up there for the Supporter Shield race at the end of it.
What do you think about having to play through the international break? I know it was one of the Nevilles, I believe, that was talking about having to play through the national break involved in coaching. I believe that'd be Phil. And he was talking about how everybody's going to get on with it because that's the way it's set up. But I wish they were doing it a different way. Obviously, if you're Inter Miami, you're probably being punished a little unfairly for playing through the break. You guys are going to be missing more players than the average team. Do you have a similar sentiment? Is that talked about in the locker room at all, or is it just kind of another day, another match to win?
It's just kind of is what it is, honestly. I mean, it's something that I never liked it. I think international breaks should be international breaks, but with the addition of Leagues Cup, it's just not feasible to just have a break of 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it would be, and that creates a whole different wrinkle, and money rules the world. So that, I guess, is the reasoning behind it, I think. And but for us players, it really just is what it is. We're continuing to play. I was really happy that we at least got this weekend off. And to be fair, we do have a little bit of a lighter schedule. It's not like we have games every 3-4 days here. So we will be able to, we have really tough games, to be honest with you. But it's not like we have, these grueling weeks. No, it's like, I think we have 2 games now, then a weekend off again. And then, obviously a few more games, but at the same time, it's not as congested as it was before in the season. But again, the Leagues Cup edition and the break that we have with the Leagues Cup, it just happens for us later, July and August, and that's what creates this type of situation. Because if you didn't have that, then you could push everything back and you can just play it later, and it would all be no problem, So just kind of is what it is.
Oh, that Leagues Cup. I still don't know how I feel about the Leagues Cup, but that's another conversation for another day. But while you were enjoying your fantastic vacation, I just wanted to point out something specifically to make fun of you. But you missed an opportunity to meet with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
This like promotional event. I think Leo Afonso and Schneider they got to go. Were you not? This is apparently I'm not necessarily up on this sort of thing, but for the new Bad Boys movie, were you not a bad enough boy to be invited to this promotional
So I think the club asked the club asked who would be sticking around and who would be leaving town for
event?
that time. So they didn't even really approach me about it. And they probably just went to those guys knowing that they would be in town and they wanted to do something. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't ask about it. All I saw was the Instagram as well. I didn't really see it or hear anything else about it.
I
Maybe I can
didn't.
ask Schneider or Leo tomorrow, but no, it's been, yeah, didn't get asked. I was like, man, would have been cool, would have been cool.
Yeah, like oh,
But
okay, yeah.
so was taking the break and getting away and being, yeah, just unplugged a little bit, clearing the mind, clearing the body a little bit of some toxins that have been accumulated over the tough stretch, and just kind of getting away, doing some different things, doing some different workouts, enjoying the time with my wife and my daughters, and much, much more important than, yeah, meeting Will Smith and Martin Lawrence at the end of the day.
That is true. You're just a reprehensibly fantastic family, man. You know that, Julian.
Thank you.
And there is one other thing that happened in the orbit of Enter Miami that we wanted to talk about today, really because it ties into something we've talked about in this podcast before. But Leo Messi, and a very honestly surprising thing for me to see from him, because he's normally not this open about this sort of stuff. But while he was at Argentina training, he did do an interview. And what he said, I actually have the quote here. He said, I did go to a psychologist for a while when I was at Barcelona, a long time ago. I was very reluctant at first. I'm someone who keeps everything bottled up. But the truth is, when I went there, it did me a lot of good. I really liked it, and it helped me. Now you've talked about how seeing a therapist really helped you recently, a couple episodes ago. What do you think about Leo talking about it as well?
Oh, it makes me so happy. It makes me happy that, well, maybe he saw my opening up and he decided to open up himself and talk
Oh,
about it. No, but obviously Leo, in my opinion, is probably top three most influential person in the world, right? If you think about it, and not, that is everybody in this world included, and for me, he has the power to reach so many people, and by him talking about it and saying that, and creating such a positive feeling around talking to somebody, seeking help, um, you know is something so important, and what I've been preaching for so long, or since we did the mental health episode a few weeks ago, and it was something, yeah, that when I saw it, I really smiled at it, and it was awesome. I showed my wife immediately, and I forwarded it to you guys in the group chat immediately, and it was, yeah, it's something very important in my opinion, and with his reach, um, I think those types of conversations are amazing. I'm happy that he did it, and makes me, um, yeah, just be happy. Yeah, that he can, that a guy at the highest level like him, that has been there for so long, that has everything he could ever want. Why would he need to go to a psychologist for? Well, there's reasons, and he had them, and it helped him, and that's amazing to hear. And it's certainly something, that I hope a lot of people will see, and will then, kind of take action themselves.
well, I think it's fair to say, given the number of people that kind of wait with bated breath for everything he has to say, that just Messi saying, I mean, that was what, two sentences, three
Yeah,
sentences? Just him saying that probably saved thousands of people.
yeah,
I mean, at least, at the very least, improve the lives of thousands of people who will see that and then feel like it's okay for the first time to talk to somebody.
yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, I probably, when he comes back into camp, I want to go up to him, and I want to tell him thank you, and say that, it's very, great that he did that. like it probably might not mean anything coming from me, but at the same time,
Oh,
it's
come on.
something great to hear. And I've gotten actually a couple of reactions from teammates as well from what we have talked about on here and what I've done before. Where actually the club Inter Miami had reached out to me after we did the episode.
Really?
Yeah, where they wanted me to go speak at FIU to some up and coming psychologists and counselors to do like a Q&A about what it's like being a pro athlete and all these things. And so it was a really cool opportunity then to talk about it more. And some teammates had come up to me and asked me about it, what had happened, and how I not just about the therapy part, but also about kind of what I'd gone through and everything like that. So just knowing that guys listen, the guys listen to what you say, and if it impacted my teammates, hopefully it impacted one other person. If I saved one other person or helped one other person go to a therapist that now has a better life because of it, then amazing. And that's like you're saying, the reach that Leo has, he reaches multiple, so many more multiples than me, but it's certainly nice to see and get feedback and so much positive feedback from opening up like that.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that also means that the world in general is just getting more comfortable talking about this sort of stuff, and it's people like you and people like Lionel Messi talking about it that allow that sort of thing to happen. So we're always going to try and be on the forefront here on this podcast of talking about mental health and making sure that you take care of yourself in that way. And huge shout out to Messi for joining the charge in that direction. But Inter Miami is back in action on Saturday. Traveling to Chester, PA, like we mentioned earlier, to take on the Philadelphia Union. And so I'm sure on the next episode of this podcast, we will be talking about an incredible Inter Miami victory in Chester, PA. We do have a couple of questions, as is our tradition now, that have been submitted by you all. And we'll get to the first one now. Corrido Kala sent this one in. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right, but it said, saw the Argentina national team has been training at Inter Miami's facility. Have you met any of the players or scouted for the U.S. national team like a secret agent?
So actually, I have not, but I have seen some of their stuff laying around. We have some new equipment in the gym that we didn't have before. But no, I haven't seen any because we were off last week and they started training then. And now I think they played in Chicago last night. So they were out for this weekend, the first couple of days that we were back. So I actually don't know how it's going to work, if they're going to train on the same fields or a couple other fields or after us or before us, or what it's going to be like. We'll see, but I'll update you guys next week on that. But for now, I haven't seen anybody. Just again, some equipment that has been added to the gym for us.
Yeah, I think you might have some more competition for Messi's ear now that those guys are around. They're very protective of their Lionel. The other question comes from HM_, said, what's your go-to way of relaxing after a game?
Oof. Immediately after a game is really tough, to be honest with you. I mean, for me, obviously adrenaline is running high. Games kick off at 7:30, so it's very, very difficult to kind of get a good night's sleep. You kind of pump yourself up with caffeine a little bit, usually around 6:45, 6:30. That's when I take kind of a nice little double espresso and sometimes even an energy drink. So good amount of caffeine in your system at that time, which is a pretty well researched performance enhancer, actually, legal, obviously.
Got to make sure we get that out there.
Yeah. So then after games, I mean, I usually try and eat pretty healthy, try and eat well, really usually pretty quickly after, so I can digest before falling asleep. I put blue light blocking glasses on. I honestly, on the way home from the stadium, I sometimes listen to classical music, which is like super weird.
I love that. I do that. I'm actually, I mean this seriously. I am listening to ambient music right now. I listen to ambient music every time I record. It helps center my brain. I don't know why.
There you go. Yeah, no, for me, it's all about getting the heart rate down. So then when I get home, I usually do some some deep breathing exercises, something like that, to try and get my heart rate to calm down a little bit and not be beating so high, so that I can fall asleep. And then it's just about trying to find a way to fall asleep somehow within the next 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes it happens at 1, sometimes it happens at 2:30. It really depends. One, on the game, two, on kind of how much I played in the game and how tired I really am from before, maybe all these things. But it's a lot of trying to calm down, trying to relax, not a lot of light exposure, and just trying to do everything so you can fall asleep.
Yeah, well, the light exposure, I'm assuming this podcast doesn't help, but that's why we record on Mondays, I think.
That's right.
I love the classical music bent on that, the deep breathing exercises, and I can see you finding your zen while your wife is just waiting to go to bed.
Yes, she's already sleeping. I'm doing this like by the time I get home, she usually doesn't go to the games because the kids, obviously they're a little bit small for this late of a kickoff. So she like texts me right after the game. He's like, "All right, babe, going to sleep." I was like, "Yeah, see you.
Good
see
game.
You later."
I'll see you tomorrow.
So I try not to disturb her until I'm like fully ready to sleep. So then I go to the bedroom and then I sleep.
It is amazing the double-sided coin that it is to be a professional athlete. But
and then I mean, you fall asleep it doesn't matter, 1:30, 2:30, midnight. My daughter's still going to be standing right next to my bed at 7 a.m., the latest. So it doesn't matter what time you go to sleep. So then your relaxing techniques, I don't know, we'll just have to be with her somehow, try and go in the pool or try and just take a nap while she naps, those types of things.
Yeah, well, on the bright side, you definitely don't need an alarm clock. But that is the end of the podcast today. Thank you so much for listening, and please follow us on Instagram at Player Manager Pod. Let us know what you think about the episode and our predictions. We will see you next week.